Yes, sir. Actually, I'm back. You know what it is? It's Carlos, aka Black Los. Well, I don't know how much that applies to what I'm about to do. It's Carlos, and I'm coming to you with a book review. It is Good Grief, Pass the Bread, Mama's Dead by my good friend Angela Nissel. If you remember, I actually unwrapped this, unpackaged this past Tuesday. That was the day it dropped. Again, this is on Amazon and a few other outlets where you can purchase a paperback or get it on Kindle or even get an audio book or even get a CD. So go look her up. Angela Nissel, Good Grief, Pass the Bread, Mama's Dead. Now, look, I'm gonna keep it a being with you. If you know me, I'm a nerdy dude, but reading fiction, novels, books never really been my thing. If I read, it was more so to be informed or to learn about something in particular. So even as a kid, yes, I was in my grandmother's basement reading old encyclopedias, outdated 6 years before I was born. I would bring reference books with me to class. I'm talking about first, second, third grade. Yes, that was me. But when it comes to nonfiction, I've read the autobiography of Malcolm X numerous times. Tommy Davison's autobiography. Pretty much anything nonfiction or having to do with memoirs, in-depth detail of or retelling of somebody's life or memories. I'm big on that. That's pretty cool. For what this book gives, it does it in spades, but it does it in a manner covering a certain span of time that definitely was some heavy subject matter, but with the writer's natural wit and humor, it's not overbearing. But Angela finds a way to interject humor in it, even in the most inconvenient, and some people would even say improper times. And that's what I love about her personality and her writing style. It's a very easy read. um, Not gonna BS you. I am doing this off the cuff. I didn't take any notes. Didn't intend to. But really, I just wanted to share some of my favorite parts about it, and hopefully, it might be yours too. I want to read this little inside liner note for the book. Television writer, producer, and best-selling author of the acclaimed The Broke Diaries and Mixed charts her unexpected role as her terminally ill mother's caretaker in this funny, moving, and unforgettable memoir. Angela Nissel always wanted her mother's approval, but two defining events created a barrier between them: her renouncing Christianity and her being admitted to a psychiatric ward, events that mirrored failed parenting to her mother. Beating her depression, Angela moved to Los Angeles, where she quickly achieved success as a television writer, but soon after found herself dead broke and enduring a painful divorce. It was at this low point that she received heartbreaking news: her mother had cancer. Angela moved her mother to Los Angeles, where she attempted to hide foreclosure notices and her living boyfriend while also trying to save her mother's life with everything from crystals to celebrity doctors. In this poignant and hilarious memoir, Angela chronicles her odyssey as she tries to remain strong like her mother in the face of grief. Delightfully self deprecating, unsparing in its honesty, yet filled with wacky humor and joy, Good Grief, Past the Bread, Mom is Dead is an unforgettable portrait of love, yearning, loss, and resilience that reveals the indelible power of introspection to save our lives. Yeah, that pretty much just sets the tone for it. One of my favorite one of my favorite parts of this book, mind you, just giving a little context. Angela's mom, she was a hardworking, overworking, dedicated registered nurse. Her name was Miss Gwendolyn Nissel, in the city of Philadelphia. That's where I'm from. Upon finding out the diagnosis and getting her mother to Los Angeles with a whole bunch of things in the wake of it regarding her mother's ex-husband, well, then husband, uh, call him Reverend Bill. Yeah, he was quite a character in himself. She retrieved a binder that she nicknamed the BCB, or Big Cancer Binder, because it had all of her mother's affairs in regards to her diagnosis, her treatments, medications, all that kind of stuff. So check this out right here. And like I said, I really encourage you to read the book because even what I'm reading right now doesn't do it much justice. I had nicknamed the cancer binder the BCB because that shorthand was more manageable to text my brother than Big Cancer Binder. Plus, Typing the word cancer over and over was depressing. F cancer, right? It doesn't even deserve to be called by its government name. My brother and I ping pong text back and forth trying to unravel the mystery words and courses of treatment I found inside the BCB. She didn't tell us she had 2 rounds of radiation. Is that the same as chemo? The BCB says she sees a physical therapist. Why are you seeing the physical therapist if you're dying? Aren't they for athletes? I just found 2 fast food receipts in the BCB. I know those are bills. Always talking about he has the gout, but drinking McDonald's sodas. I hope he falls down the subway steps, which he is now taking because I have the keys to a stupid SUV. Again, I really urge you to read that book because the things that transpired between finding out the initial diagnosis of our mother and then the subsequent uh, recurrences of symptoms or the progression of the cancer, the events that transpired the night that led to the eventual moving of her mom to Los Angeles is crazy. It's funny, messed up, but it's still funny. If you laugh, you're gonna laugh. Again, gotta switch gears. It's about grief, it's about loss. This passage right here is after her mother passes, the grief chores. If you've ever lost a parent, a grandparent, and if you ever the executive of the estate, that requires a different kind of tenacity. You can't really grieve the way you want to because you have to put on your biggest poker face. You have to handle affairs. You're calling government buildings. You're trying to make deadlines. You're trying to get here, there, places that you never went to before, haven't gone in years. It really is draining mentally, but even emotionally because you still have to constantly reference someone who's no longer here. And again, it's like you have to put on your best poker face. And I identified that with that a lot, especially after my mother's passing. Um, yeah, it gets heavy. This right here is Angela seeing billboards and things in regards to cancer. Uh, Check this out. The billboards seem to be taunting me. Apparently, that teen deserved to live and my mom didn't. Why couldn't I have found a way to make my mom resilient like that young blonde girl? Once I started asking questions like that, other questions would see their opening and jump up, demanding their own answers. Am I agreeing to more morphine killer? Could have I at least gotten those 6 months that the doctor wrote on her disability form if I hadn't signed up with hospice? Maybe the flight did kill her. If only my broke ass could afford the first class, why couldn't I, finally, at the end, be a better daughter? Be a better daughter. A better daughter could have saved her life. I forced myself to push those thoughts away because thinking too long about them made me certain I'd never feel normal again. I'd stop being mad at myself only to get mad at my mom for leaving me. Then I'd get mad at myself for being mad at a dead mom. Some days I just lie in bed and wish I could die too. Again, if you ever lost anyone close to you, a mom, a mother, a father, a parent, a caretaker, a guardian, anybody who you felt was largely responsible for you, your safety, your upbringing, life, I'm sure y'all could, identify with it in those rounds of grief that you go through, all those questions that truthfully during that time we feel responsible for, even when we shouldn't. We start looking at ourselves differently, asking questions that, honestly won't be resolved. And it's more of a self flagellation, for the lack of better words. Man, like I said, it was heavy. I even had to take a moment to myself going through chapter 10 and chapter 11 because I'm like, man, I was there. I said that, going through all the legal paperwork. You keep having to regurgitate the same things over and over and over again. It's like just to be able to handle business, you'd have to numb yourself of it, you know, just to get through with it. So, like I said, dealing with a dead loved one and their estate, talking to folks, arranging things, even arranging the memorial which she goes into. I can honestly say, like after my mother passed, I was on autopilot. I was on autopilot for at least a good 3 months. I can't tell you too much that happened within the first 3 months after my mother's passing. It was like it was foggy. And I can only imagine what it was like for Angela and her brother. They lost a mother. Now, she had a memorial in Los Angeles, which is where her mother unfortunately expired. And they were surrounded by a bunch of people that honestly didn't know her mother. So it was a juggle of whether they should have a memorial service in Los Angeles or back home in Philadelphia. At the present, they said we'll just do it in Los Angeles, but eventually they relented and said we're going to do one back home. So they had to scurry and get things together to get it organized. In the days before the Philly memorial, as I tried to write that obituary, I quickly realized that I had no idea how to sum up mom and every single thing she meant to every single person while also putting that summary in the right grammatical and emotional order. I couldn't figure out how to make her life, including all the parts that I just recently learned about, into short paragraphs that will fit onto the back of a program. After days of trying, I come up only with 4 sentences. I gave up and texted them to my brother. How's this read? Gwen Nissel was born in Philly and raised there until she had to move out because of her bum ass husband. She was surrounded by love as she passed because she was with her kids, not her bum ass husband. Her brother Jack. No notes. Please read that in Philly. I read half of it with you. As much as mom and I butted heads over my inability to follow her straight and narrow path, I definitely wasn't as gangster as she thought. I knew I couldn't read that obituary, but I am not her perfect Christ-centered child. There was something scary about possibly offending him in his own home. Plus, even if Christ shared my brother's and I humor, my mom's co-workers probably did not. I imagine the horrified looks on their faces as I read a very undignified obituary about my very dignified mom. I texted my brother again. Don't kill me. I chickened out. I'm writing a boring obituary. I wouldn't kill you. Then you'd be chilling with mom, and I'd have to clean out 2 houses that weekend. F that. One of my favorite things that she included in the book, she actually ended it off with. Her mother, aside from being a dedicated nurse servicing people in her community, in her city, she was a poet. She was a writer. So Angela got it honest. She included a poem that her mother wrote called Places at the end of her book. And I'm not going to read that. You'd have to buy the book to get it. So again, good grief, pass the bread, mom is dead. Angela Nissel. Man, I got mine for like 16, 17 bucks on Amazon. Again, support black writers, their memoirs, their art. And yeah, I guarantee you, it's a good buy. Great read. All right. Don't forget, as always, tell them Low said it.